If any of you read the bio, you know that Debra has been very tested, scientifically tested on her mediumship. She is a certified research medium for the Windbridge Institute. She's been worked extensively with Dr. Gary Schwartz at the University of Arizona. All of that aside, I'd say the most wonderful thing about Debra is her love and compassion. It flows from her. You can feel it just being around her. She's a bright light in a world that sometimes seems to be a little dark to some of us. So she shines brightly. And with that, I give you my friend, Debra Martin.
Oh my gosh, that was really beautiful. Thank you, Gary. That was touching. So I would just want to say thank you to everybody that's joining and listening. That just warms my heart. I'm going to talk and share my stories with you today and how I became a healer and medium, how the divine came into my life each and every time. And then how can that relate from my story? How can it help you? My first experience with the divine was in 1997. I had gone out with a group of friends. We were at a restaurant socializing, and at the restaurant there were like TVs all the way around. And there was a breaking news that came on. On the TV was showing that Princess Diana had a tragic accident. And so we're witnessing this and we're kind of all feeling it. I'm sure you remember that day. You just were like, wow, what happened? We went on to socializing and it was getting late. I was a single mom of 3 and it was time for me to go home. So I drove with 2 other people. I was a passenger. And as I was ready to get into the car, I just didn't want to get in. I just felt like something was going to happen. And my friends were like, Debra, you're just worried because of the whole Princess Diana thing. And I thought, well, yeah, they could be right. But I still had this strong sense that something wasn't right, but I didn't know what that feeling was. I've never experienced that feeling before. So I got into the back seat. Now it was a 2-door car. It was like a sports car. So you had to lift, push the seat up to get into the back seat. And I was sitting in the back seat and we were driving on the freeway. And as we were driving, it's like I had this premonition again come into me that something was going to happen. And I was hearing voices, but I don't remember hearing the voice saying that this was going to happen. But my soul knew it because I answered it. I remember answering to a question I didn't really hear. And I said, no, not now. And at that very moment, there was a car driving in the fast lane. It was a truck. One of the utility trucks, only has the windows in the front and then it's all, no windows on the side. And it was coming across the freeway from the fast lane into the slow lane where we were driving, and it clipped us. And right when I said, no, not now, I heard the bang. We spun and spun and spun. And now I don't remember spinning. That part I was kind of blacked out. And our car took 40 feet of guardrail out and it came to a stop facing traffic. The van that hit us flipped 3 times off the freeway. Now, in my book, you can see pictures of the vehicle. There was nothing left. I was in this little pocket in the back seat of the car. You're in shock. All you see is, oh my gosh, we might get hit again. We need to get out of this car. We couldn't get out. We were trapped. And I remember that panic feeling. And all of a sudden, someone came to our door. And here we've been trying to get out, and effortlessly, the door opened. And he takes the driver. The driver had broken her leg, carried her out of the car and put her on the embankment. Came around, opened our side of the door with no problem. Now, if you looked at these pictures of this car, you'd be like, how did they ever open the vehicle? There's just no way. So he takes the passenger in the front seat out first, and then he carries her farther down the embankment, and then he carries me and places me next to her. He stands in front of me, and I'm wearing the ring I wore that night. He's standing in front of me, and he says, I will see you again, and everything's going to be okay. And I said, no. This finger, this ring had bent and was causing my finger to bleed, and it was hurting so bad. I said, can you just help me? Can you help me? Because I couldn't get it off. So he took his teeth, now a bloody finger, putting it in his mouth, biting it, and then taking it off. Now I still have his teeth marks. I took a picture and put it in the book because it's the only thing proved that this person was really there. Because what happened as he took the finger off, he proceeded to go to the left. Now to the right, we're seeing all the ambulances. I think we had 5 ambulances. We had fire trucks. All coming in. So you're just humanly going to look to the right. You're seeing all that commotion. But as I looked to the left, this person disappeared. Where did this person go? Who was that person? Why did I hear those words to know that something was going to happen, to say, no, not now? That all came to me like what just transpired. And I do know now it was divine intervention. I was given the premonition. I answered it, and divine intervention came. No one ever found that person, but I do have the teeth marks to prove. So that started opening up my spirituality. What just happened, going to seminars, meditating with my dear friends, and just listening to spirit. Spirit was coming through. Is this real? But when you're with a group of friends, you're figuring it all out. Did you hear what I heard? And I would lead the meditations, and they became very profound and sacred. Then in 2000, I was in my car again. I was driving a Honda Accord 4-door, and I was going to a friend's house. So I was in a residential area where I was going to turn in my car was stopped in a turn bay, ready to cross the street. And I couldn't cross the street because cars were coming. So I was just waiting, like we would all just be sitting there and waiting. And before I knew it, I don't have any, recollection of what happened. All I knew is I was now somewhere else watching what was taking place down below. So I was in another dimension. I felt this presence behind me, beautiful, big presence. I wasn't afraid. I was just kind of watching. I was like in awe, what's going on? And I heard this voice, loving, strong voice, Debra, are you ready? Well, no, I'm single. I have 3 kids. They need me. And at that moment, I was watching down below, and I said, but I'm not going to survive this. And I was seeing what was going to transpire. And there was just no way that I was going to survive. But in a split second, I'm now waking up once again in a very small pocket of the back seat. The 4 doors had squished to 2. All windows were broken. Everything in the car had flown out the back window. My front seat had broke. The seatbelt had broke, and I landed in the back seat of this little pocket again. This time I had a mouthful of glass, and I had 2 people standing at my window. Now I didn't remember this yet, like what's going on. I just woke up with this mouthful of glass. Where am I? What's happened? And the police officer was like, we're so sorry. We tried to get the man off of the road. We were on pursuit to get him, but he was in a diabetic seizure, and you're what he came to stop to. So he was going 70 miles an hour, and my car is what he hit to stop. I spun into oncoming traffic. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The next man, the police officer says, are you okay? He's like, no, I'm not. And I'm listening to all of this, and I'm still sitting in the back seat, not knowing if I should crawl to the front or what I should do, but I just was paying attention. And this man was so shaken. He's like, I don't know what just happened. I was the one driving that truck, and behind his truck, he had a trailer he was pulling with big tractor. And he said, I should have drove over her and crushed her. But in a split second, somebody took my steering wheel and put me into oncoming traffic. And that's when the download went, whew. And I remembered that moment. I get chills right now, even saying it. It like brings me to tears. I saw that from above. I saw it. And I remember hearing the voice, and now here I am. The ambulance is the paramedics are taking me out, and I'm like, I think I'm fine. They're like, no, man. You need to go to the hospital. You probably have internal bleeding. We got a strap. I'm getting the neck thing. I'm getting all the straps. And I came away from that accident unharmed. And it shook me to the core. So that was an out-of-body experience. Where did I go? What voice did I hear? Who was that? It took me a long time to really embrace it and say that was the divine. Well, how did I know? Because when I asked the question, I heard, I am the only one that can make that decision. Whoa. Like, okay. So that opened my mediumship. I was hearing voices. I had the gift when I was a little girl. I shut it off due to fear. But now it was really back, and it was heightened. So much that I thought that maybe I was a little crazy. So that's when I went to the University of Arizona, met Dr. Gary Schwartz, Dr. Julie Beisel, and got tested. Is this real? And Gary was so kind. He used to call me the medium that was like Michael Jordan. He put me on the pedestal and he made me feel good. But science is my backbone. Without the science and the research, I wouldn't be as confident as I am with the words that come through today. And it all comes to trusting what you're hearing, trusting that this is real, and knowing it deep within. So I started working doing mediumship for people all over the world. Then in 2012, 1/21/12, if you remember those numbers, 1/21/12, I was really, really sick. I was being seen by the Mayo Clinic, and they weren't finding out anything that was wrong with me. And that's frustrating. Why aren't they finding anything wrong? And I'll explain that later. But no one wanted to believe me, not even my own husband. But I was laying in bed in terrible, extreme pain where I couldn't wake up without pain. I couldn't drink, I couldn't eat, I lost the ability to have bowel movements. Like, my quality of life was not good. And so how could nobody see what I was going through? How could my husband at the time not believe me? He's seeing me. I'm down to some like 90 some pounds. Well, I figured they were all living their life and maybe they just couldn't witness it or didn't want to. The bigger picture is they just couldn't go there. But I knew that this isn't how I wanted to live anymore. So I started asking God to take me. Please take me. I'm in too much pain. I remember one day I was in my bedroom and I was laying down, and all of a sudden I saw spiritual surgeons come into my room. People have asked me, were you scared? And I said, no, because they came as spiritual surgeons. If I saw them just in human form, just in clothes coming at me with a knife, I think I would have been scared. But knowing that they were in, scrubs, they were here to help me. And they started to work on my body, and it was extremely painful. I can remember screaming. But at one point, I remember taking my last breath. And why was it my last breath? Because I was now floating out of my body. And I remember not breathing. And I remember floating and raising higher and higher and higher. And I just felt good. I felt like, okay, I didn't know where I was going. I felt lighter. I felt this sense of peace, this sense of comfort. I wasn't in pain. And I was going higher and higher and higher. And I came to a stop where I was surrounded all in white. I was all by myself and I'm looking around and all I'm seeing is this white all around me. And I thought, okay, where am I? And all of a sudden, I cry every time because it impacts. I saw these hands that came with this beautiful rope and picked me up. And at that moment, I was now witnessing, my soul was out of my body. I was now witnessing my body being held. This time, I was not standing. I was being carried. When things like this happen, they're so undeniable that it hits you when you talk about it. So, as I was being carried, I knew, wow, I must really be sick this time. I was talking, but I wasn't talking like I am to you right now. I was talking in my mind. And I followed this great divine, full of love, full of peace. And I saw him lay my body on this beam. As he laid my body on this beam of light, I saw a beautiful glass coffin next to it. And I said, wow, I wonder what it would be like just to sit in that. It looked like, Snow White's coffin. This is beautiful. Do I get a chance even to try it? And I thought, I probably better not. And so I was taken to this space. I was guided to this space that looked like you were in a dome. And I said, why are we going here? It says, because so no one in the universe can hear this. This is just between you and I. Now, I was no longer seeing the presence. I was just feeling and hearing the presence. It was like all around me, standing behind me. And I remember sitting down at what looked like a desk. I describe it that way because that's how I feel, even though I didn't see the actual desk. And there was this paper, it was this long contract. It was my lifespan contract. I heard that we all have one. And I was told that I needed to come back. And I argued, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. I was sick. I was dying. I was in pain. My family's okay without me. And I feel so loved here and I feel safe. Why do I have to go back? And he says, well, I can reverse that pain. So remember this date, 1/20/112, all numbers are reversible, and so is this. I didn't want to argue. I knew that I had a new mission, even though I didn't know what that new mission was. I was told I was going to go back and have a new mission. There were some bullet point words that stuck out. One of them was health. And I questioned it. It says only health. And I saw the LY come, healthy, you'll be healthy. And then I saw the word voice. So I figured, oh, I'll just be the voice. You know, my mediumship's going to heighten. Yeah, I can do this. Okay. So I asked if I could stay for a while, and I was told, no, my time is up. Because it just felt so glorious. It felt so peaceful. It just felt like a space you don't ever want to leave. I didn't see relatives. And later I was told if I did, I may not have come back. So this was just a space that I was in with the divine. When I decided to come back, I can remember floating, coming back slowly, slowly, almost like if you're in a very deep meditation where you feel you're somewhere else and then you're coming back. And as I was coming back, I could remember going into my body. And it's like it was inflating. And I remember going, taking a breath, like a new breath, like I've been held underwater for a long time, and you come up and go, and at that moment I wondered, am I the same person? What just transpired? Spiritual surgeons were gone. I didn't heal immediately. It did take me 6 months. And I did question. I questioned later in my prayers to the divine, why did I never find out what was wrong with me? And the answer came very clear. Had I told you what was wrong with you, you would always own it. You would say, I had or I have. Without ever knowing it, you'll never be able to own it, and it's never a part of you. So I say this to any of you that get frustrated with, I have this illness and they can't figure it out. There's a reason. There's a reason why. So when I came back, I received the gift of healing. And I was witnessing through my mediumship that people were coming that also needed to be healed. And I was adding that healing component to it. In my book, Believe Beyond Seeing, my first one was with my son, who was losing a friend of his. And I knew that if he didn't survive, all his friends that were so close to him may not go to college. So there was a really strong will, would you say, that I really wanted to pray. And I can remember being in the hospital with all the parents and the kids and the mother of this boy. And I asked the mother, do you mind if we pray? Now, this boy had tried to commit suicide, and he was on a drug overdose, and they had noticed he had a brain aneurysm. It didn't break, but that he had one in his brain. So I said, if you don't mind, I'm going to place my hands on your head. And she's like, right here? I said, yeah. Around all these kids? I said, yeah. Right here. And I did. And we prayed. And I said, you are the most connected to your son. And so I'm going to use you as your proxy for your son. And we're going to heal from the brain. And they did a brain MRI, and that aneurysm disappeared. So then the next day, she wanted me to come into the room. I said, well, they're not going to let me into the room because, you know, this is a suicide. He's strapped down, only family members. She said, no, 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 we're saying you're in, you're from the church. I'm like, okay. And I can remember going in, and Spirit now, as the medium, is telling me what's going to happen to the minute. In 15 minutes, he is going to start gagging. Now, he had a tube going down to help him breathe. He's going to start gagging. You're going to need to get the doctors and nurses in here right away, or he could choke to death. So we're watching, and I could see the grandmother in the room. I could see angels in the room. And I can remember watching that clock going, you know, Deborah, you just said something really profound. How do you know? But I trusted Spirit, because remember, I heard them in all of these incidences since 1997. And at 15 minutes to the dot, he woke up choking. And he survived with everything, nothing wrong. And that started, like, there's more than just my mediumship. So then it started the door to doing another healing, where this man had Hodgkin's lymphoma of the brain and the spine. Now, I decided I don't want to know what's wrong with a person, which is interesting because I didn't know what was wrong with me. Because if I know what's wrong with a person, I humanly want to go to that area, but it may be some other thing in the body that's causing that to be off. Because if you notice, when one thing's wrong, it seems like other things are not in alignment with our body. So I asked, I don't want to know anything about you, because Spirit will tell me exactly what you need and what is going on in your body. So this man comes in, I know nothing about him, and I'm told he has cancer in the brain and the spine. So I'm going to become his proxy. Now, I now do all remote, so I don't see them in person, and it's more profound that way, and I can explain that later. So he's there, and I have to feel on my own body where the pain is. And now I see spiritual surgeons coming into the room like they did for me. But I'm the one that's going to feel it. And that's a gift. That's a true gift, because when you feel it in these different areas, it becomes undeniable. So I felt it in the brain, felt it in the spine, and I can remember it being excruciating pain coming out. So this was a man that was a doctor. He was in his 70s, and he said, okay, that was very interesting. You know, he only came for the life and love for his family that said, please do this. So he went to Banner Anderson Hospital afterwards, and he had a brain scan and a spinal tap. 5 days after the healing, he got a call that it was completely gone. That the tests have to be wrong. So they went back, they redid everything again, and it's completely gone. So that was a huge awakening, not only for the family, but for me, being the instrument and conduit to let this all transpire. And at that moment, I knew I was a healer, and this was my mission. And the voices I was hearing, that voice that I saw on that paper that day that I signed, I was the voice of Spirit for healing. What are they going through? Now, you might say, okay, that's one healing, but I did another healing for a woman that was in Texas. She was on her deathbed with cancer. I didn't know it was cancer, but I was shown in her session that it all transpired at the age of 7. I was shown her and then a mirror image of her at age 7. So when I'm seeing this during the session, healing session, I have her picture here on my body, and being her proxy, I'm seeing spiritual surgeons come into the room. I'm seeing now a vision of her, and now a little girl at age 7, and questioning in my mind to Spirit, well, what does this mean? And Spirit says, through me, at age 7, your mom was dying. You had a dad that was abusive to you, and he was very angry with you, and he took you outside and he shot your puppies in front of you. And I was like, wow, that's terrible. So then we heal that trauma from when she was 7, release it, heal it, and be able to take that out. Now she's on her end, she's just receiving as I am doing the session. I'm recording it and then I send it to her because I can't have any interruptions. When she received that and listened to it, she said, how did you know that? I forgot about this. Because see, she pushed it all down. At age 7, they don't know how to heal it. She doesn't know that that's still within her. She thought that she moved on from that. But she was able to hear from the words, not only from the energy that went through her, but because the words impacted her so much that she knew that it was a higher source that was working here, that it wasn't me. So she accepted it and she was healed. With I say that, healing happens on all levels, emotional, physical, spiritual, and it's limitless. There's nothing too big. But I also say that I am not God. If I could heal everyone, I mean, that's my intention. I want to be, I ask for a miracle for each and every person that comes. And so this next story I share with you, some of you might be aware of Suzanne Giesman. She's the one that brought me this person. It was her dear friend Brenda that was dying. And they asked, is it too late? They were told that she has 3 months to live. Is that too late to do a healing session? Who am I to say what's too late? Who am I to say what's too big? Of course we should try everything. And so we did. And in that session, while I was doing the session, I remember feeling like I was going to throw up. I felt bile coming up. I'm like, this is awful. I have to just throw this all up. Later, when I spoke or actually conversed with her by email, she said that when she listened to that tape, she heard me throwing up and saying it was bile. But at the same exact time I was feeling that I was throwing up bile, she was throwing up bile. So do you see how powerful that is? That's why it's so wonderful that it's remote, because I don't know what they're going through. I don't see them. I don't know anything about you. And here she was feeling and going through exactly what I was feeling and going through. It was miraculous. In her session, she was told she went on a spiritual journey. What is a spiritual journey? A spiritual journey is a vision that is given to me. And at that moment, I'm able to see the vision, give the vision, and see her speaking with the divine. And the divine said, honey, you've been told all your life you're unworthy. But I love you more than you love yourself. And you are so worthy. And it shed everything. All those things she held on for years were shedded, just released. And she said to me, my session was more than a healing. It healed me from my deep wounds. And we both felt that she was completely healed. And then she passed. And that was hard on me. And I was told, this isn't about you. And Brenda was healed the way she needed to be healed. She transitioned without holding all of that onto her. It was effortless. The people that were with her that day witnessed that the last 2 weeks of her life was like she was normal again. She was healthy. So miracles happen in so many ways. And so you just open yourself up to see what is it that you will receive. And so I can, private sessions, I do group sessions, and people say, well, how do you heal in a group? When people hold hands globally, like we're listening globally today, it raises that vibration. Our intention becomes bigger, right? Because we're all holding that intention of a miracle. When one is healed, we are all healed. And sometimes it doesn't happen instantaneously. Sometimes we have to feel to heal. That's my famous quote. We don't like to go to those spaces to feel. It doesn't feel good. And I had to, for 6 months when I came back, I had to go to those deep places to feel to heal. And so everything that I went through from 1997 till now, what can I give you from all three of those that can help you? Each and every time, whether it was a car accident where I survived, where I left out of body, or when I was sick and dying, each time I never felt pain. There is no pain when our loved ones or us pass. We pass before the body shuts down. So with COVID going on right now, there's so many people that can't be with their loved ones. They can't be there to hold their hands. No, they're not alone. I was never alone. Instantly, someone was there before I even knew it. And so that's the peace that I give to you, because that's the peace I have within me. I'm no longer afraid of it to die. And I know that it's going to be peaceful no matter how I die. And so I can say I'm grateful for everything that's gone through, and I look at them as lessons and blessings, even though they were hardships. So sometimes our greatest hardships that we go through will bring us our greatest lessons.